I'll be speaking about giving you a brief overview and the changing trends in the patent practice today that we see them. I have no financial interest. Now, when you come out of your training, you have only been dealing with your clinical ophthalmology and you've been learning how to diagnose and treat. But now you realize that there are so many other things that you can deal with. You have to deal with patients who are much more difficult in the real world. Then you have to deal with industry, you have to deal with issues, marketing, insurance, the fact that patients now need 5-star service and you have to have provisions to provide all these regulations that you must follow, the ever-moving threat of litigation, and you realize that you're not really prepared for all these things. So once you're out in the big bad world of ophthalmology practice, your doctors may feel, the youngsters, that they're faced with all these sharks that they have to deal with and they're somehow at a loss as to what to do. But the good news is that ophthalmology and indeed medical field in India is growing up progressively, unlike the industrialized world where it is getting a little saturated. And unlike a few years ago where good ophthalmology was concentrated only in a few centers in some of the big cities, it is becoming more wide-based. You have a lot of centers opening up in small towns and cities which are doing really good work, so it is becoming much more wider-based and rather than being concentrated in a few pockets. And the private health expenditure in India has been growing very healthy rate of 12.5% per year. So this augurs well for all of us who are related to the medical industry. And because cataract surgery is the bread and butter for ophthalmologists, we have an increasingly aging population. And this aging population now has access to increased incomes. So while we did only 5 lakh cataract surgeries in 1981-82, today we have done 4.8 million surgeries in 2006, which was the last data that is available. And of these, 60% were still done in the charitable sector, only 40% were done in the paid sector. So the large majority of cataract surgeries are still being ignored somehow by all of us. So now, what are the options that a young ophthalmologist has once fresh out of training? You could join an academic institution like Professor Gupta mentioned, or you could join the government service at various levels, be it a district hospital or a regional institute for ophthalmology or a medical college, or you could start your own individual private practice, which is what most of us end up doing. Or you could consider a bit of a stint overseas, whether a short-term stint for training or long-term desirous of settling down or to earn some money. Or you could join a group. This is probably the need of the hour. There are very few groups that are very successful practice, but this is being talked about more and more. And there are so many corporate hospital chains that are entering the market which you could join. Or you could join a charitable institute which will give you a lot of good experience. And finally, if you are fed up of all of this and you just don't like ophthalmology, then there is always the option of going completely offbeat, doing something like MBA and actually becoming a director and bossing over the rest of us. So if you join an academic institute, first I'll be talking about the non-government sector. Shankar Nitale, LPSAB, etc. are of course the leaders in this. But there are many other institutions in the non-government sector which focus on both private practice as well as academics. They will provide you with an intellectually stimulating atmosphere. They will provide you with a challenging mix of cases which you enjoy doing. It is not just cataract and refractive surgery to earn more and more money. You will have access to latest equipment as Sir was mentioning, and you will have the opportunity to keep learning all your life. And of course, you don't have to bother about day-to-day hassle which you have to bother in the private practice of managing things. And then you have colleagues for help if you are stuck in a tricky situation. The other academic option would be to join a medical college. They will also provide you with an academic atmosphere and the opportunity for continuous learning and training. And you will be practicing both what is the rich man's ophthalmology and the poor man's ophthalmology in the sense that you will not just see cataract or cataract surgery, but also corneal ulcers and NLD blocks, retinoblastomas and things. So you will not be concentrating only on two diseases. In these medical colleges, you will have job security and stability, and of course there is a lot of prestige that is still attached to being called a professor. However, the infrastructure available in medical colleges across India is very variable. There may be some very good medical colleges which are comparable to the best institutions in the world, and then there are medical colleges which have hardly any infrastructure to work off. So be very careful where you are applying and whether you will have job satisfaction in these medical colleges. And then there will be limited financial growth, but some medical colleges will allow private practice so that can augment your income. Then there are other government jobs at various levels, like I said, district hospitals, regional institutes, etc. And if the idea of helping the needy people appeals to you, then this is the job where you can actually provide services to the people who need them, who deserve them, and who otherwise do not have access to expensive private ophthalmic services. So you can serve the needy, you can also get experience at the same time. And initially you should try for a place where you are not all alone, because to be able to navigate all this government machinery all by yourself, and sometimes in remote locations the patients may be very difficult to handle as a government doctor. So initially try for a place where you have some support mechanism and other colleagues available, so that you are not, you can learn the ropes as they say, and before you are at a place where you have to handle everything all alone. Again, the facilities available may be very variable. On the one hand, you have institutes like the Civil Hospital in Ahmedabad, which does almost every specialty surgery, and they have very good infrastructure. But then again, most government setups will not provide you that freedom, and it will depend on your personal skills, interpersonal relationships, and be able to push for these things in a government setup that you can get good equipment and practice good surgery. But the government red tapeism and interference from political bosses and administrative governments will always be a problem. But if the idea appeals to you, it is a good option for having a laid back, easy life without too many hassles on your head, and job security as well. Then what most of us end up doing is the private practice. It will give you a lot of autonomy, you are your own boss. There is a potential for extremely high earnings, like Professor Gupta was saying, but remember, not everybody is able to realize that potential to the same extent, and not everybody may be driving an equally flashy cars. So whether you will be able to reach the complete potential will be depending on your skills and your hard work, and of course a bit of luck. But it will not depend on abstract factors like whether you are a favorite of the political bosses or things like that. It will only depend on you and your hard work and success. And you will also have increasingly now access to technology. So this is not just restricted to few centers, with Indian companies manufacturing medical equipment and the equipment's costs coming down. Even in private practice, you have access to the latest technology available. And again, in private practice, there are many options. You could either start with a complete setup of your own, which needs a bit more money, but you start basically with a cataract surgery, kind of an eye hospital of your own. It will entail initial investment as well as initial struggle. Or you could start your own small clinic and attach yourself with a big hospital where you can do your surgeries. This is a good trade-off where you don't have to invest your own money. Or the group practice option is open, or you could join an established ophthalmologist in your area. But normally, unless you are adding a subspecialty to the senior ophthalmologist, this will not be able to be very viable in the long term if you're only going to concentrate on cataracts and refractive surgery. So, what most people end up doing by default is a solo individual private practice because of lack of other options, or because we don't put in that much time to look for other options. So this is something that depends entirely on you. And there's nothing wrong with this. Some of the greatest ophthalmologists we know all over the world have essentially been solo ophthalmologists who were later employed as doctors as their practices grew. Now, group practice is something we often talk about. There are so many articles that people suggest that this is the need of the hour and we must all do it. But there are very few examples that we see of successful group practices which have not entered into any problems. The best viable option would be a fresh out-of-college group of 2 or 3 ophthalmologists who have similar backgrounds, similar trainings, and similar fears of starting their own practice could get together and start a group practice of their own, because now in today's world there is increasing hesitation to handle single and start on their own. And we must remember that if you want to survive the ego clashes that are inevitable in these groups, it is almost like a marriage. You have to keep your eyes wide open before marriage and half shut afterwards. And then there is this large sector that we often ignore, which is the charitable sector. Most of it is monopolized by NGOs. I hope we as ophthalmologists or ophthalmic bodies can also run their own charities. This will probably provide better opportunities to youngsters. But as of now, what they provide you with is a lot of experience because of the number of surgeries that are done in this sector. So this is very good for increasing your surgical experience. Of course, with the constraints within which they operate, you won't have a lot of money, but they have kind of campuses where you can have a comfortable life. But you need to think about long-term depending on where you are. Some of these hospitals may be in remote locations, and once you have grown kids, etc., their education may be a problem. Then you have corporate eye hospitals which are entering the market. They have generally a lot of income backing them from some source or the other, so they have no doubt of money. They provide doctors with a good work-life balance and good money. Their way of working is different, so you're not very responsible. Sometimes the counselors may be more important than doctors in these setups. You don't have any non-clinical responsibilities, but they work like industry. So there will, at least some of them will be giving you targets, etc., that you have to fulfill. But the youngsters must remember that to be able to reach the top in these corporate eye hospitals, you first have to be an excellent surgeon. So if you're just immediately fresh out of your training, it is a better idea to hone your surgical skills before you enter one of these hospitals. As a youngster who is still to if you have an excellent training and you're confident about your surgery, they will give you a lot of opportunity for future growth as well. But if you have not had that training fully as of now, then your future growth prospects would be limited in these hospitals. This is not something for relevant for the youngsters, but mergers and acquisitions are often talked about now. The corporate chains are acquiring small practices of individual doctors, and this is generating a lot of buzz. Though the advantages and disadvantages is something that we have to weigh, and not everything is rosy once you have a merger with a large corporate group. So to summarize, there are lots of jobs available which offer good salaries and perks, yet many of them will not give you good job satisfaction. So before you sign on the dotted line for any job, don't just see the salaries and the perks, but actually go and observe that setup, whether it will be providing you with long-term job satisfaction as well. Choose very carefully, and like Sir mentioned, always have a plan B in case it doesn't work out. Now, because private practice is something most of us end up doing, so I'll just speak a little bit about that. 80% of ophthalmologists in India are in private practice in some form or the other. If you want to be in private practice, you need to be a hard worker, you need to be a people's person. If you're the kind of person who doesn't enjoy interacting with people in both good and bad way, then private practice is not for you. You have to be able to handle stress and be multitasker. And you have to carefully choose where you want to start your practice. You need a niche referral base, so it could be your hometown or your bigger city. Small towns and markets today do provide a lot of opportunities. Wherever you are practicing, you have to concentrate on building a team, because now you have to do a lot of paperwork, settle insurance papers, and patients also expect various kinds of services. So learn to build a team. Now, succession planning is a unique Indian phenomenon. Most of the ophthalmologists, senior ophthalmologists, would want to hand over their practices to their youngsters, but children do not always want to get into their shoes. So as a youngster, if you're joining a senior ophthalmologist for practice, this could be one option where you see an ophthalmologist ready to retire, but his children or her children are willing to get into there. This is the kind of ophthalmologist where you would have future prospects for growth, where you can join, and possibly you would be able to get both a ready-made referral base as well as future prospects for growth. Marketing, I'll not be speaking much about it. So must remember that economic growth today is really happening in small cities. So these are the things that options available. So to conclude, we are living in exciting times. You have many choices. Choose what suits your personality. There is space for every kind of work. Do not feel pressured by what you think is the trend of the day. But good training is a must, and you must do it now. Don't postpone it. So success comes from making best use of whatever you have, and remember, in the end, you just want to be happy and peaceful. You do not have to enter the rat race, because the trouble with the rat race is even if you win, you still adapt. Thank you.